Exciting. Full house, everyone. Welcome. We just came from Dabo Ta celebrating our teammate Blair's 1000th class. She's out in New Mexico, so that was a fun party. And now we're here for episode 2 of the Purpose and Passion Project. I still get tongue-tied maybe by the end of the year. And my goal is to share 2 guests a month. We started with Lauren and now we have Lindsay. I have a few others lined up. And my daughter Emmy's like, Mom, you have to interview me. And I was like, ooh, I don't know what you might unleash it all, Emmy. Like that would be a it will be an entertaining one. I'll get her on at some point. But I just thank you all for being here. And like, I really believe sharing our stories is just a beautiful way to encourage each other and not feel like we're on an island alone. And my goal and my purpose truly of this new venture that we're doing at VFit is just to open our hearts more to each other, to share, to know that like you're not alone. And each episode, even though they're all going to be so different and from a different person and story, like there's something we can gain from each other, from our stories, from our struggles, from the valleys we've climbed out of, through the mountaintops. So today's guest is another one of my besties through VFit. This is what is like so amazing about this community is we really have authentic, genuine connections. You'll hear in part of the story. I had met Lindsay before VFit, but we've really just become truly good friends throughout the last few years and journey through VFit. And I couldn't be more honored to have a trainer of her just caliber and authenticity. And just, you all know Lindsay, her heart is like as pure as they get, of gold. You might want to, I don't know where this is gonna go. We've mapped it out like a little skeleton of where we're going, but at any time in these sort of meetings, you could need tissue. So I'm just warning you. That's a good thing. Let it go. But hi, Lindsay, how are you today?
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm just so grateful for this opportunity to share my story.
I love it. And yes, Lindsay lives just 2.5 hours north now on the 395, go up the east side of California, and you'll land yourself in a beautiful little area south of Reno, Minden, Gardnerville area, which is where Lindsay lives at the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains. So part of Lindsay's journey, where I thought it'd be fun to start with, is Lindsay has lived and traveled a lot of different places. And I think that really helps in your adaptability to like change and do a lot of different things. But tell us a little bit about where you kind of grew up in that first maybe half of your life.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Montana. My parents were both Minnesotans, grew up in Minnesota, both of them. They met, they got pregnant with me, and my dad had always had a dream of living the cowboy life in the mountains. So when they got pregnant with me, they moved to Montana, a small town in Montana called Lewistown, Montana. We lived in an earth home right in the side of a mountain. We had horses, dogs, cats, and it was like the ideal childhood, just being in the mountains. When I was about 6 or so, we moved to Bozeman, and just a bigger neighborhood, a little bit more like kids around, but we were still right at the bottom of the mountains. And then I spent, most of my childhood there. When I was 15, my family up and moved to Florida, Leesburg, Florida. So Central Florida, total opposite of Montana. Went from mountains and seasons to Florida, palm trees. We had a pool, we lived on a lake, which it was a tough time for me at that time. Just as a teenager, I didn't want to leave Montana. And just culture, climate, it was a tough transition. So I did struggle a bit with that. I do love it now, but I just didn't want to go. And so really, as soon as I did a little college in Florida, I was like, I'm headed back to the West Coast. So or, back west. So I ended up moving to San Diego, California. I was about 21. I moved to San Diego, California, and then I was kind of back and forth from San Diego to Florida for a few years there. Just kind of just living kind of like just the nomad, adventurous life, back and forth. So, and then that eventually led me to Mammoth. I first got sober. I was partying a lot from just that hard transition as a teenager. I started partying to fit in and to just kind of find myself. And I just drank a lot those years. So by the time I was about 24, I was ready to give that up and try. It was a trial period. So that happened when I was like back and forth from Florida to San Diego. And then I just, was there another, I'll stop there for now.
No, that was good. So yes, I think that's one of the, those transitions in life. And even for our kids, I think this is good, just knowledge, like when, anyone feels kind of lost or like a big transition and doesn't have the right coping skills or support, to like you found yourself, you kind of got into some, not necessarily trouble, but you started to get down a path that probably wasn't really the path you were meant to be on, obviously. And so that leads me to, so I believe, I feel this probably goes for most of the trainers on the VFit team and why our trainers are so passionate and different than a lot of fitness people out there. Most of us found our passion through fitness, through some sort of hardship that life gave us. For me, it was, miscarriages and being upset at my body and feeling out of control. And it ends up being a big blessing in disguise because it connects you to the purpose on such a deeper level than just to fit into a pant size or to go on that honeymoon or that vacation and look good in my bathing suit, right? So what led you to your passion, the beginning stages of your journey with fitness?
Yeah, so it was the very early part of my sobriety, within like probably weeks or months. I started to just trying to find like healthy outlets to do something other than like go out and, just do that whole thing, that whole lifestyle. I had to totally switch it around. So I started doing Pilates. Pilates was my number one fitness thing that I started. I tried it like a DVD. I think it was a DVD. I started there, and then I started taking kickboxing classes, which I loved. And that was just such a huge healthy outlet for me at that time. And as I was just going through a total transition and just kind of trying to find myself in this new idea and world. And yeah, that's where my passion for fitness started, right there.
And thank God to all of us for that, for you finding that, because you seriously are an amazing bright light. And so at some point, Lindsay ended up in Mammoth, and this is actually, our paths did not cross here yet, but what brought you to the mountains? Like what, so Mammoth, if some of you are sitting here in Mammoth, but like Mammoth, we are an Eastern Sierra resort town, like really in the middle of nowhere on the eastern side of California, closer to Nevada than actually most parts of California, very isolated, but a really big tourist area, an amazing world-class ski mountain. And then you've just got Bishop South with fishing. I mean, there's just a lot of recreation out here. It's a very heavily tourist oasis. So what brought you out to this? I always am crazy how people found landed here, because most people landed here, they didn't grow up here.
So true. Yes, I was living in San Diego, again, sober. And I was randomly, my dream was just always to go back to the mountains, to live like the ski bum life or just the ski life. I had that dream, like ever since my family moved me Florida, and I just kind of had this dream that I just wanted to go back to the mountains and ski. I didn't know what that looked like. So I had my eyes and heart set on Colorado, but I started to apply online. I was in San Diego. I applied to Mammoth, and I got a job at the mill at Mammoth Mountain, which is a lodge at the ski resort, just as a cashier.
The best nachos on earth if you're ever up here. The mill has the best nachos. Just got to plug that.
And garlic fries and chili. Yeah, and so I packed my truck. I had my truck in San Diego. I packed my truck and I just headed up to Mammoth, moved into employee housing, and yeah, I made my way to the mountains. It was supposed to be for a winter, and I ended up spending about 12 years there. So
there's a saying, come for the winter and never turn around. Because what happens is summer comes, and that's really why you stay here. And then the winters test you, right? All of you are like, especially right now, my kids are like, Mom, when is the snow going to be gone? But yeah, and I love that. And just, Lindsay ended up teaching ski lessons on the mountain, and I can let you get into this a little bit. Really wanted to get into like adaptive sports with the like disabled community. And I think that's such a telling part of your heart. And we were talking yesterday, and I thought it was so funny because there was a fitness trainer in our town. Some of you know she's moved since, but her name is Kathy Dolan. And she was actually one of my gateways into fitness too. So when you told me that you were loving her classes too, and what was your first teaching experience that you got thrown into? I thought that was a good story.
Yes, that is a really good one. I was taking yoga classes, yoga and boxing, specifically with Kathy Dolan at Snow Creek Athletic Club in Mammoth. And I loved her yoga. I would just go to her yoga classes every week. And one week she had something with her daughter. Her daughter was pretty young at this point. Something with her daughter, she couldn't make the class to teach. So one of the members suggested me to throw me up there at the front. And that was my very first experience teaching group fitness, teaching yoga, teaching anything. And I did it. I went up there and taught the yoga class. And yeah, and then soon after that, I got certified to teach yoga.
And I love that because that's how kind of I was pushed into it too. So I think that's a good lesson for everyone. If somebody sees a strength in you or believes in you and pushes you to do something that's like, outside your comfort zone, but you love it and you care about it, like take that as a sign, like just get uncomfortable, get scared, put yourself out there. Cause I think about like, what if you didn't do that? The same sort of thing kind of happened to me. And then I was like, yes, I meant to do this. So that's just a good lesson for it's oftentimes going to take somebody else who sees that strength or that gold in you to stretch you and kind of push you to take that next step. So Lindsay ended up in Colorado. You were working so from me, I'm going to say you just got to track her. Where's she been now? Now she's going to Colorado, and you ended up, what was your position out there?
Yeah. So like I said earlier, I kind of just like had always had my eyes on Colorado, wanting to do like live in the mountains. Actually, my mom lived in Winter Park, Colorado, way back in the 70s before I was born. So that was kind of part of it, but also just wanting to experience the Colorado life. So after I had taught skiing a while, I had volunteered for disabled sports in Mammoth. I got my yoga certification, and then I moved to Winter Park, Colorado, and they have a giant disabled sports program, or skiing specifically. It's called the National Sports Center for the Disabled. Woo woo, Colorado. And so it just worked out that that's where I wanted to go. And then that I was just kind of getting involved into the disabled sports kind of thing. And so I started teaching skiing there at the NSCD, is short for National Sports Center for the Disabled.
And if you're tracking one theme as we were going through this, I kept telling Lindsay, and I'm like, I hope you realize this too. Like every time you had set your eye on a goal or a dream, like you kept following it, you kept chasing it. And maybe the path wasn't like a straight path, but like you ended up in Colorado, where an actual major part of your life, a big, huge transformation. And well, I guess a lot of you will probably know this story, but those of you listening to that are new. So here you are in Colorado, you're plugged in with this amazing community and disabled sports, and you had kind of made a home base in Mammoth and some community out here as well. And then you got some life-changing news in the next part of your journey, which, I'm sure is taking you a long time to be able to talk about. And I just, like I tell you, like I know sharing, I start to try to just talk about it, but like sharing this part of your journey is going to help a lot of people.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm getting chills myself. So it was like my second winter in Colorado, Winter Park. And it was the end of January 2010, I think it was. Yeah. So, and I found a lump in my breast. Scariest, most emotional time of my life. Wasn't sure what to do about it, but I ended up going down to Denver, getting some scans, and about a week or so later, it came that it was positive for breast cancer. So just total world flipped upside down, basically. So scary. I was 29. It was just a very emotional time getting that news, and just being kind of far away too from like my family, and just kind of, that was a tough time. I did have my cousin Dee Dee nearby. She's here today.
And your bestie Brooke is here too. And so with that, came just, a long journey of treatment and healing and chemo and surgery and everything that comes with that. But as we were talking through yesterday, when Lindsay and I were kind of going through and setting up for this, I said, what were things that people did for you or maybe didn't do that you wish they did? I've noticed this during hard times or grief or loss of loved ones. Sometimes we don't know what to do, or we don't think we can have enough impact or do something, you can't cure that or change it. And so we do nothing. And I feel like there's like to hear from Lindsay, like what were the things that really helped you that people did, or what were some things that like maybe you wish that someone would have done, so that all of us listening have that to know, like when we are faced with that, someone in our lives or a loved one, or like we'll be able to like get past that mental roadblock of ourselves and be able to pour into them.
Yeah, a huge part, like, and this immediately the planning started happening as soon as I was diagnosed. I really needed financial help for many reasons. So the community I was involved with at the NSCD, in Winter Park, the sports center, disabled sports center, we immediately started planning a fundraiser. And I was like the yoga teacher. So we did yoga fundraisers. We did yoga-thons, we called them. And so we started planning that immediately there in Winter Park. Shortly after I was diagnosed, it was just this like most amazing night of my life. Like everybody came together. It was to raise money. They like had brought in people to teach yoga, and it was just so like it lifted my spirits at that time that I needed it, and I needed to be shown this community that was around me and just the love as I was like just embarking on this huge just treatment and surgery and decisions and all that. That was just so meaningful, and such a meaningful evening. But not only that, just in the Colorado community, but also Mammoth at Snow Creek, they also did a yoga-thon. and did the same kind of thing at Snow Creek Athletic Club. So some of you might have remembered that back then, 2010. They did one there as well. And then as well as my friends in Florida, they did one at one of the yoga studios there. And then we also had one eventually in San Diego. So just like, it was, yes, heal from within. That's right. My cousin Dee Dee's reminding me, my brother made the shirts for the fundraiser, like just all these things that came together in just like the time. Yes, I still have the shirt too. Heal from within. I love that. Thank you, Dee Dee, for that reminder.
You were saying obviously the financial part helped, but it was the support and just community, right? That's what people gathering and supporting you. And you were able, I think one of the biggest lessons out of this, and it's hard, this is hard for a lot of people, is to be vulnerable and accept and receive help. And by you receiving that and being open to that, everybody was able to give and to pour into you. And that's, you know, the beautiful part of giving and receiving. It's in duality. And so if we're not able to receive, you're not allowing people to give. And so here you were in this part of your life where you were invincible and traveling wherever you wanted to go. And like you told me, like, I didn't think I wanted to get married or have kids. And this experience also kind of shook you to your core in that way too. I just love how when you were talking about it, you could just hear like how much you appreciated community and how much they came out to support you through this. But yeah, speaking of like that, you know, wanting to be independent and live on your own forever and do what you want when you want, like, how did that change?
Yeah, I thought I was indestructible before that. I thought, yeah, I didn't have really interest in getting married or having kids or anything like that. Yeah, very independent, very just like, well, I'm going to move here and here, and I don't have to ask anybody anything. But yeah, that was one of the biggest lessons, was learning how to ask for help, or at least receiving that help during all that. That was one of the biggest lessons for sure during that, but also transitioned, like after through it all, I realized that I really just wanted somebody by my side or just with me through the thick and thin. Like I just didn't want to be alone. If I had to experience something like this again, like I just didn't want to be alone through it. I wanted to have somebody by my side. So my whole ideas around just marriage and having a family shifted. And actually during that time, I was back and forth Colorado to Mammoth. I started dating my now husband. I started dating Doug during that time as I was going through treatments, and because I was just like, you know, ready. I was ready to have somebody by my side. We continued from there, did a little bit of long distance, and then I eventually came back to Mammoth after all my treatments were done in Denver, Colorado. So did that answer it?
Yeah, no, that was really good. And I love how, like, see it, when you open yourself up to something, possibilities, it finds you. And how, you know, you told me how you were on, after you had to be on a certain immunotherapy for a few years, which prevented you from trying, and that there was still that possibility, like you've gone through all this, your body, chemo, radiation, like you didn't know if you'd be able to have a baby. And if you've been in any of our classes, you know, sweet little Emmett is 5 years old now, and just one of the, like, you could just see how much you love being a mom, and like don't take one single day for granted in the life you're now giving him and the adventures and stuff. So like, you know, what a beautiful other side of the story going through. Like I said, like when you're walking through the valley, when you're in it, when you're in that storm, like you're not meant to stay in it forever. It's through, like that word, through. And so I love that. And then Lindsay came back to, all of a sudden I remember taking your Friday. It was like a staple on our schedule. You taught, what was it called? Yoga Sculpt on Fridays at lunch at Snow Creek. And I would go to her classes, and then Lindsay worked at a restaurant we liked. So our paths crossed over the next couple of years, but we were never like super close. I mean, we knew each other for sure, and I respected you and loved your classes. And then I started VFit, and how I remind me too, like how you came to VFit. I feel like it's just been forever.
Yeah, so you had started VFit, and then I'd see you a lot at, well, mostly Campo when you came into the restaurant that I was waiting tables at. And you just kind of told me about VFit and kind of, if you want to teach, I love your classes kind of thing. And I wasn't quite ready to go the online route. And at this point, Doug and I were married and we were trying to get pregnant. It took us a couple years and a miscarriage. And so eventually little Emmett came along and I was sold. Like, I was online and I couldn't get to the gym really that easily anymore. And so as a member, I started taking classes and it was awesome.
Yeah. And I remember you said, I just want to start as a member. I don't know. And I really respected that you wanted to feel it out. And especially, I have to say, for yoga trainers, teaching online is very, very foreign because you're used to touching and like, it's a very different, it takes a really gifted Sherry, Lindsay, like it is not, it's out of all formats. I believe it's like really, a lot of like, it's hard to adapt that format out of all online. And then I think you moved back to Florida for a little bit at the end of your dad's life and went through that with him, and you left VFit for a little bit, just to tend to life. And then I think you reached out, and is that when you came back as a trainer?
Yeah, it was May 2018. I started teaching for you.
Lindsay was coming just as a yoga trainer, my friends. She was just coming to VFit to teach yoga.
Else. I'm not teaching anything else.
And I was going through this prepping and doing my work, and I said, oh my gosh, Lindsay is probably the only trainer out of 12 of us that literally can and will teach any format that we have. Like, talk about like dance to yoga to like, there's not a class that Lindsay can't teach. And I said, that is such a testament to, again, your adaptability and diversity and being able to throw yourself into something challenging. And VFit's brought back, I love your cousins here because they used to choreograph dances when they were younger. And now, Lindsay started by kind of taking Cece's choreography and using that. And now Lindsay has her whole classes full of her own choreography and teaches every format. So I asked her, and we will have to be done by 5:13, so about another 13 minutes because circuit is coming up after this in the same room. But I don't know if I could answer this question, but I always like to ask people, what are your top 3 favorite classes to teach and why? Just right now. It might change next week or tomorrow.
For sure. Dance, hands down, like just, yeah, me and my cousin used to make up dances and dance for hours and hours and hours in her basement in Minnesota. And just what a dream to be able to just take this from my childhood and now be doing this. And I kind of found my way back to dance. I danced all growing up and with my cousin. Yeah, that's next, Liz. But it's just a dream. It's something that I prayed about way before VFit, that I wanted to bring dance back into my life, and that it's here, and that I'm able to share it with others and continue to do dance and make up my own dances every week. Like, it's a dream come true. But yes, Liz is right. Second favorite class would be box. It's just where my journey started. What gave me my passion for fitness in the very beginning. It's always been my healthy outlet. It has always just made me so happy. And the fact that I can, yes, share it with others, again, is just a gift, like to be able to show up and box it out with you all every week. It's just incredible. And then probably third would be yoga, which I just feel like brings that balance that you need with like the cardio and the movement, and just bringing that slower movement, that focus on the breath. And yoga, that comes pretty easy to me, just to be able to show up, and I don't have to really ever plan my yoga classes when I teach. I can just show up and kind of just wing it, basically. It just kind of comes from like my heart, and is just such a big part of me. And so it's a little easier than the others as far as like coming to teach, but it just brings such a great balance, I think, to the others. So.
Well, so good. And I totally get what you mean. Like, I feel that when I teach bar or willpower, like you have a base plan and idea, but it's like a creativity. Some people are artists. I see Kathy Enright and her jewelry making wear right now. Like for me, and that's, I feel like what you're saying to yoga, like it's an artistic expression and it just like flows. Like it's something you just really can't plan because you know, you have that base plan. So I love that diversity in that. And, you know, everybody has a different artistic, you know, a way to express themselves. And I think that is really important too. Some people are good at jewelry. Some people are good at drawing. Some people are good at writing. Some people are good, you know, there's different ways we all express ourselves. So I think for us trainers, like fitness is our outlet of expressing ourselves, and each class we get to do it in a different way. And so it is really cool to be able to teach a lot of different classes. Oh, look at these comments. We have like 30 people here. This is so awesome. You are such a gift, Linz. Okay, I got a couple more. We'll see. Okay, so we know, and I don't say this lightly, like and I'm not just tooting our horn. I believe everything happens on purpose, for a purpose. This VFit trainer team was put together not by my doing. I truly feel it's just a grace of God who's been placed in and how they've stepped up. And so we have a special bond with each other. All of us, we spend a lot of time just chatting and talking and lifting each other up and pushing each other outside our comfort zones and being silly and sending each other pictures and just everything. Like we've truly become really good friends on a genuine level of like wanting the best for each other. And it's something so rare that I have never had in a workplace before. So I want to hear from you, Linz. What do you love about being on the trainer team?
Oh, so many things, like having this just group of women that are inspiring and supportive and just like-minded. We all just have very similar just aspirations, and I just feel so just supported, and I feel like I'm in a safe place to grow and shine. And I just am just so grateful to be a part of it. And two, just I feel like I value being a member of the VFit community just as much as I value being on the trainer team. Like this whole community overall is just so supportive and just such a safe place to grow and shine. Like I feel so blessed to be a part of the trainer team, the community, all of it. So
so good. I totally feel that, because yeah, it's this really rare like duality. Again, it's kind of that word of like supporting each other and wanting the best for each other, but not in a way where like you let someone like do less than their best or get away. You know, we're pushing each other in such a healthy way and not just letting each other like fall off or spin out. And I feel that amongst, like, we always say to the members, like, we get as much from all of you, hands down. You know, you're thanking us after the hardest workout ever and like being grateful, and, you know, we don't, and then I always laugh, and then I'm going out to feed my kids breakfast and they're not quite that same way. But yeah, it is such a special community. And even last week, Sherry got together with a team in Texas that hadn't all been together before. And she's like, you just feel like you've known each other forever. So I do say, anytime you travel or you're in an area, a lot of you in areas with other VFitters, like, get together. You'll be surprised how just, you know, you might have differences, we all do, but like how much you just really enjoy being around other VFitters. And then I just wanted to end, and then we'll have a minute or so for some questions, and we can take this over after too. So I just want to say to you, I have just like loved watching your growth and I think if I would have asked you to do this 2 or 3 years ago, there's no way you would have done it, and had the confidence, and just watching you grow within this team, leading different challenges and groups and connect and retreats with me, and just you're so amazing to like be able to like, you're up for whatever, like you have this ability. Yes, sometimes you need extra pep talk from me, or sometimes you need me to remind you, like, you can do this, you've got this in you, and like, I believe in you. And I just want to say how proud I am of you, and like what you stand for on this team. And you've really just shined, and I just am excited to see where it continues to grow. I'm just really proud of you. And I think that this story has had so much different facets and depth, and as you can see, the highs and lows, and just the beautiful journey through it all. So I thank you for sharing that story. I thank you for giving your heart to something that's so important to me, which is this community and VFit, and just for being you. You're so special, and I love you.
Oh, I love you too. Thank you.
So if anyone has any questions or anything, we can take them, or anything you want to say. Lots of smiles, lots of comments. This is why I like doing this way, is I can feel all of you, your love, your just, yeah, take a second, man. The chat box is lighting up. Thank you for sharing, Lindsay. You're the best leader. We love you. You are amazing. And see, that's what this community is about. We're not there to like climb on top of each other. Like, we know a rising tide, right? It lifts all boats together. It's not, one doesn't have to climb on top of the other. You're so special.
Yeah,
I have a question, Lindsay.
Yes.
So obviously, you know, the lows and happen, and we grow from those, and from your perspective, what got you through that? What got you through those lows? You've had a few.
Yeah. Just, I think like community is a big one. And I'm very hard-headed and strong-willed. That's probably part of it. That was a big part of me, just like stopping drinking, just all of a sudden, like I just went cold turkey. Very strong-willed, but mostly like the people around you and having that community, and all the different places that I lived too. Like that was just a big part of it, is the community and the people showing up and loving on me, and yeah, showing me that I wasn't alone through it. That was a big part of it.
Good question, Liz. I like that one. Digging in, because and those become our strengths, like to honor that and know that about yourself is, you know, and sometimes our biggest strength is also our weakness, like, you know, being hard-headed, but for the most part, it serves you, you know, better than in those areas. So I would say you are definitely not that with our team, but I just laugh because I do know you too. And I think that is one of your strengths.
Yes, Doug would agree to that. My husband.
A good question. Anyone else? It could be anything silly. We have about Lauren, I think Cece's off on a fishing trip. And we have about 2 more minutes. So if anyone has any questions. Yes, Lauren's like, I'm about to kick you off. That's what I love too about the trainer team. We could be real with each other and share all of our fun and vacations and all that good stuff too. So
can I say something?
Yes.
Lindsay is an amazing person, as everyone knows, because I say it all the time and connect and everything. I have MS, and I do believe that Lindsay and Sherry have helped me stay on my walker and not go into a wheelchair. And I mean, I tell them that all the time. They both know it. I just love both of them so much. And so, like, Emmett's my little grandson now.
Yep, we call you Fran, Ma.
Yeah. Oh, I always say Grandma Fran. Fran sends our kids lots of gifts, and it's so sweet. But you know what, Fran, you are part of that too, because you have that will to not stop working on yourself and being strong and healthy. And Fran just celebrated 1,000 classes, and Lindsay is part of that, all of her one-on-one training with Fran as well. added into that. So, oh, thank you for sharing that, Fran. So we should probably,
Quickly.
yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if I spaced out, but I don't remember,
You want
Lindsay,
me to?
how it is that you ended up in Gardnerville. And
Oh.
do you think that you have found your place? Because you've always talked about Colorado. Do you feel like Gardnerville is now your place to stay?
Oh, yes. So we wanted to move somewhere near the mountains, but not as cold as Colorado. That was a big part of why we wanted to move, but we also wanted to be close to Mammoth. So now that we are just 2 hours from Mammoth, because my husband lived there forever too. We're 2 hours to Mammoth. We're close to the mountains. It's not as cold as those other Montana, Colorado. I adore where we live. I love it here so much, and to still be close to Mammoth and be close to all the mountains and skiing and be in this amazing community here in Gardnerville is incredible. And really, we moved to Gardnerville because it was still close-ish to Mammoth, but kind of gave us a little bit more opportunity as far as like having a reliable airport nearby to travel home, see family, and just a little bit more going on than living on the island of Mammoth, which I still love, but mostly summer.
Or as my husband said, when we're back to the Arctic tundra. So, but yeah, all right. That's a good question. I do love where Lindsay lives. I might end up there one day. My kids don't like to hear me say that, but I do love it here too. So what a good session. We'll let Lauren go lead circuit. If you have any follow-up questions, shoot them to Lindsay or myself. And yeah, thank you all for showing up and sharing. Next month, I'm looking to talk with Sarah Z and Maria are my next two guests. So that will be coming up in February. So
Thank you, everybody. Love you
all. Right.
all.
Love you
Thank
all.
you for the messages.
Bye.
Bye.